Let's look. Yeah, we went clockwise yesterday, or just now, so we'll start here.
Uh, so Larry Hama says he doesn't read Energon universe. Do you read his real American hero?
No. So I've looked through it. No, that's okay. I've looked through it, but it's the same thing where it's like I don't necessarily want to be too heavily influenced. It was funny early on when we were talking about this like really early on. Mac Pitts and I were talking about everything that come before, and I was like, I'm gonna do a reread. I'm gonna read everything. Do it all. But I was like, I don't know if I read a lot of that kind of stuff. And then, but he was like, no, don't read it. Don't be too influenced. And I was like, well, I'm still gonna do it anyway. And but I had read all the Larry Hama stuff, but then I went back and I started rereading everything else, and I was, or well, I thought I was reading it for the first time, and then I was like, oh, I read all this. Like I did read all this stuff, and so, I try not to be too heavily influenced by it, so that's why I kind of keep it over there. And I mean, listen, he's the master; he knows the best anybody on the planet. Like that is his lane, and I'm so. That was one of the things actually when they originally offered it to me. It was like the first question I asked. I was like, "Well, Larry Hama, like that book can't end," and they're like, "Oh no, we're gonna keep it going. Here's tier one." I was like, "Oh, okay," because it's like there's no way that story. I'm very respectful of what he's built, and even now, it's like whenever I say this all the time, but whenever we're gonna introduce a new character, I knew when like Brandon Ellis or a couple person in, the first thing I do is I go read the fun part. To me, that's the core of each character. Those fun arcs, and so I think that's probably the heaviest influence he's still has coming this way. But yeah, I try not to look at too much what he's doing. Also, again, like he's in the 300s. So the story he's telling is very different than the one we're telling. Yeah,
It's the same visually. I looked at it, and I know what all the characters look like and stuff. But for any sort of creative endeavor where someone has gone before you, it's kind of counterintuitive. But you don't want to look too much into what they've done, because then you're going to be a little more derivative than you may think you are when you're trying to make something new.
yeah.
So I love the book. I love Larry. He is the master. And all the artists. I love those Mike Deck covers on Joe.
Really did a great job.
Those are insane, and I can't look at those maybe as much as I would like to, because I want to do my own thing.
So in the preview on Destro and Aliens, is that the full G.I. Joe team that we're going to see in the new comic?
In the first issue, the Duke, Baroness, Clutch, Rock and Roll, Stalker, Cover Girl, Hawk. Yes. Yeah. I mean, we'll have other characters, and obviously we kind of tease. There's other characters out there. They're doing other missions. They're doing stuff. And things will change as we go. Because that's when we're starting it. Yeah, it was very organic. It wasn't even our intent to start with that. It was like it literally came about while we were putting Duke together. That it was like, oh, this makes sense. This is who it should be. Yeah, so that is if that's who's in that preview. That's who's in the preview of the Astro Q one. Yeah, that is the teaser right now. We are bringing in the new character with. There's a reason why you get part of the group. But yeah, that's pretty much the team for right now. But again, like without being coaches,
Don't spoil anything. No,
Yeah. Actually, Sean said you guys can have all spoilers you want.
No, yeah.
Robert too. Robert's like my city.
Listen, I have known it for it's not going to set.
We got stuff. Yeah, we wouldn't tell anybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This is not. That's my screensaver.
Oh no.
Yeah.
All of these are fake.
Yeah. So is that the same
Batteries
for
are dead.
Cobra as well?
Yeah, there'll be some more stuff with Cobra, but I mean, pretty much who's on that cover. If you see that cover, I pretty much our starting cast. Things will definitely change. Yeah, I mean, we don't want it to be like locked in, but I hate to say expect the unexpected, but that's pretty much true. Yeah.
So with Duke being like the launch title for the G.I. Joe side of the Energon universe, did that give you enough lead time, Tom, to be able to do G.I. Joe proper? And I guess
Yeah, I mean, am I allowed to say how long I've been doing working on G.I. Joe stuff for?
I think so. We've been talking about it for like 2 years, but you started maybe a year and a half.
Well, yeah, I only knew I was drawing the main book after Duke came out.
Oh, wow. Oh, really? Oh, okay.
So
I thought you knew.
It's been like half half a year.
I think we knew it was you the moment that two-page spread came in. Like Robert was
nice.
very pro you doing it, and,
Awesome.
and it was
That's
like
great.
the moment that two-page spread came in, Duke saving that girl. Everybody was like, "Holy shit, this is the guy! This is the guy!" But yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, yes, I was not let in on that.
Sorry.
But yeah, I've had plenty of lead up time, and I turn my issues in on time.
Yeah, you
all
do.
that stuff,
Yeah, he hits those deadlines.
A lot of it's been, I guess, like half a year, so a lot of that was spent on like the design process for characters and things, and on some properties you do not get that baked in like design window where you get to really intentionally make decisions on how things should look and what you want, like just what you want things to look like and how everyone looks together. And sometimes it's a lot of designing on the page and a lot of other comic books, so to get the window to do that, I think was a benefit to the book.
Yeah, for sure.
So I've had enough time. Yeah.
This question for both of you. So, with how big G.I. Joe is, and being a fan of the cartoon and the comics, it's a huge cast. How do you restrain yourself from wanting to bring in other characters? Like,
How do I what?
How do you not want to bring other characters in? Like,
Because Robert and Sean told me. I was just talking about this
so
last
hard.
night. Yeah, that is honestly our only. It's all of us are on the same page. Like we from day one. I mean, it's funny. Like I started talking to Sean about this like maybe 6 years ago. It's been a really long time.
Wow.
It's not. It's just not like something they took lightly. We talked. I remember Sean called me when we started doing licensing. I would never do a licensing. 7 years. And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah, what's up? And so by the time I actually started working on it, I feel like there was never a moment where they offered it to me. It was like it just led into like our conversation led into me working on it.
You never asked.
Yeah, it was like I just was doing it. My name was always there on their list. It was always the top of the list, And so we started. So me, Sean, and Robert have always been on the all the time, right, with a lot of stuff. But that being said, I'm always trying to bring stuff in, and it's funny because and it is they're right. It was really early on. Like I had a thing where Firefly was going to be the because he was going to be like in the background, and that was the first time we started talking about how no, we're never going to do it. We're not going to have drive-bys. We're not going to have characters pop up in the deep background. I mean, nobody wants that. It was no. People love these characters, and every time we introduce a new one, it has to be a big deal, unexpected, right? A big, unexpected, our take on the character, boom, you need to come with an explosion, these big moments. And every once in a while, I do get impatient. There are times where I'm like, I want to bring this character, I love this character, I gotta find a place for this character, I want to do this one, and every once in a while, I do this. And it's funny, like Sean used to call it the Josh special, because they would get a script and there'd be a character in there that they didn't agree on. And I'm like, but here's why, so it's a bit of a balancing act.
They're just thinking of me too.
Yeah, they don't want you to have to
As an
draw
artist,
characters.
you never want to add more characters to the page, right?
Because I know you'll draw them amazing.
So if there's like 20 characters on the team, I gotta cram them all.
you don't try to sneak an extra one in there.
No.
No, well, that's it though. We don't try to speak anything.
Yeah.
Everything has to be intentional. Everything we do is very.
Yeah, exactly. He's coming out of the.
So it is tough at times. Like there are characters that I'm like I get impatient about. I want this one, I want that one, but we always maintain that rule of like, is this the best way to introduce them? Is this the best opportunity? And is it the best? Like everyone loves these characters, right? Every single one of them is somebody's favorite, right? And it's like I don't want to introduce a character in a way that feels respectful to that character. Throw it away, throw an opportunity away.
Yeah.
It's like we want to make sure that when they come in, it means something. It impacts the story. It's a big thing. So I'm the bad one. I'm the one that's like, what this character, this character, and they're the ones that are like, slow down. So even Rob and I at dinner last night, we're sitting there. You saw us. We were arguing about it.
They're holding the line for me. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
There needs to be room for the speech bubbles in the pants.
Yeah.
What are your guys' histories with the GI Joe property, and what do you hope to bring to bring to the this that has such a a big back here.
Well, I come from a military family, and so when I was a kid, that was definitely something I think I was a He-Man kid at first. My dad like found out. He was like, "Oh man, you're obsessed with He-Man." But I think when that came on, He-Man's dope too. I think the moment that G.I. Joe, the cartoon, the Villain's hero, I think my dad was definitely like, that was something he was like, okay, and so he would always buy me all the toys and stuff. And so I was definitely like a G.I. Joe kid. I got the VHS tape. My dad would record the minis. And so that's a big part of my childhood. You're talking about like 83, 87, 88. There are times when I go back and I look and I'm like, oh yeah, I was still getting these probably about 88, 89. I was still probably buying these toys and reading and watching the cartoons. I was still, when the movie came out, it was a huge deal. I remember getting a tape of that, and my dad recorded that off of the TV when they aired it as a mini. So I was very much a G.I. Joe kid, right? And so now, one of the we talk about this all the time. We already said it in one of the other interviews. It's like one of the most rewarding parts of this project is when people come up to us during signings or anything. Right? And they're just like, I was never a G.I. Joe person until I read Duke and Kid Francis. And now they're in it. And to be able to bring in people into something we love, that's one of the best parts, right? And here's the thing: we're not reinventing it. We're definitely making changes. We're definitely making it modern, but we're really trying to take this thing we love and amplify it and make it accessible to the modern, like, wide audience, right? And if we can grow and add that mythology, like that's the best part. And so those are really, for me, it was like, okay, how do I do this? How do I make it really, really accessible for right now? And part of that was, I said this before earlier too, where I was like, we had this conversation a long time ago, really early on, where it was like, the things that we love when we were kids, why would we not expect other people to love it as well? Right? So it's like, why change those pieces? It's like, we love this when we were kids. Let's let other people love it too. We don't have to like throw it away. Let's figure this out. So yeah, we put a lot of thoughts into those pieces. And like, he's younger.
I come from more of like a newer fan perspective. G.I. Joe is a little before my time.
He's a baby.
I grew up like with Batman, the animated series, and like all the Justice League cartoons in the 2000s and stuff. That was like my cartoon jam. So I know G.I. Joe, everybody knows Cobra Commander and Cobra, and the lineup of villains is iconic. And Josh is kind of approaching it, like he said, from the way things that he liked as like a kid. Why wouldn't people like that too? I'm approaching it from like, what do I find cool about this now, as someone who is relatively new to all of the expansive lore of G.I. Joe. So I'd like to think that newer readers might appreciate what I think is cool, and maybe jump on with the older fans, where there's like the tradition I think is being upheld by Josh and with the knowledge he's got. So I think it's a good team dynamic.
Yeah, I think it was always a good thing because right now toys and the classified toys are like blowing up. People really love it, and I think that definitely kicked off, like, it was weird. It kicked off like a new love. It reminded me of why they loved it, and so you kind of see that, and you're like, there was a place for this right now. Like, it was really great timing. I do feel like this was the moment for this.
Which G.I. Joe or Cobra character can you most not wait to write and not wait to draw?
It's gonna be a while before we see Shipwreck, but I have like a whole thing for Shipwreck in my head.
Shepard might be mine too.
We were talking about
He's hilarious.
Shipwreck. I have a whole. I was talking to Robert last night. I told Robert the whole Shipwreck thing, and he was like, "Okay, cool." He was down with it. Yeah.
Basically, you're using yourself as the model for sure.
I'd have to get him back.
Yeah, well, I think though,
Jack Nicholson
that's the
dude.
thing is that in the cartoon, they modeled him after Jack Nicholson.
Yep.
Jack Nicholson is probably my favorite actor. So for me,
Give him those crazy eyebrows.
that's the thing. That's part of like I really right. But I'll be sure it's gonna be years. Like, I know I pretty much know when I want to introduce him. You know, we have a whole plan for him. But it's gonna be a long time. You know, that one definitely that. With Cobra, God, Cobra. I'm trying to figure out what would be the best. Like, what's the characters of Cobra? Oh, Firefly. Now he's like Firefly is a great example of me being like Firefly. But it's like it's the same answer though. Where it's like you can't just throw him in.
Right.
You gotta have a cool reason. You gotta have like let him have his own story. You know, and some dude's brought in real quick and then taken out. You know, it's like let's do something really cool with him. You know, so that was one because again I've tried to do Firefly so many times, but then it ends up being I'm shoving it in. And I have to stop myself. I see it clearly. But Firefly is one that I would really love to get in there. Yeah.
I think one. I don't know if this could ever happen. Sergeant Slaughter.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
I just like his look. I like the hat, the glasses.
Yeah, we've had a lot of comments about Sergeant Slaughter, and it's the same thing.
That's like a whole other thing.
Yeah,
When is a real guy?
Yeah, it's a real person. So it's like, when does this make the most sense? And it's like, yeah, that's there was a moment really we thought we were bringing Pigeon right now. We're sure.
Well,
I think he's here, isn't he?
Yeah,
He was saw him in San Diego. He was at the he came to the Hazard. So I saw him. It was really cool.